are now live. We're going to learn how to paint this beautiful painting. Good things are coming. That's exciting news. Yay! We love good news. Hello to everybody out there on Facebook. So happy y'all are here with me. I'm trying to load up my computer over here on the side to where I can see some comments. Oh, wait. Do I see it? Yay, I see it. This is very exciting. Okay. I'm having tech progress. I don't see comments, but I see it going live, so that's wonderful. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And if I do not get back with you during the class, if I don't see it or figure this out, please don't give up on me. I'm just such a noob when it comes to this stuff, and I'm learning, and so I will get back with you as soon as I can. Like right after the class, I'll be sure to answer any questions or comments. But I just want to offer everybody a word of encouragement today. The big message that I am getting today is, don't worry, God is answering your prayers. Yes, and good things are coming. Yay! Okay, all right. We have a painting kit that we're working on here today. This is one of my designs called Good Things Are Coming, with a beautiful farmhouse scene. And it comes with a traceable, so it's very wonderful for beginners. Let's take a look. So this comes with your paint kit, and it also has the transfer paper with it. And I went ahead and worked ahead, so you would have to just sit here and watch me draw, because that's a little bit boring, so I don't want you to be bored. I think painting's a lot more fascinating to watch. But basically what we do, let's go ahead and talk about how we do this. I start with the transfer paper first. I go ahead and place this down right here. It will completely cover the canvas. I only tape at the top. I make sure that the transfer paper, the dull side, faces up, and that the black shiny side faces the canvas. So again, this is the only part that's taped down first. Once I get that taped down, canvas is completely covered, then I come back in and I make sure that all of the design work is actually on the canvas. So there we go. I'm going to move this just a little bit like that. And this part will run off a little bit. That's okay. We've got the main part of the design on the canvas. Then I go ahead and tape just up here at the top to where I secure the line art to the top here. It is very secure, but again, only taping at the top. And that way, as I work, because you'll use a pencil to go ahead and do your tracing here. So basically, every time you see a line, you just do one line over the top, and that will make the line work transfer over to your canvas. Now on the lettering, I'm a little bit more specific. So here you want to just do one line over the top to transfer the design. Keep that simple, very singular in terms of just a single line. Lettering's a little bit different. You want to go ahead and capture the full shape of the letter, so it's almost like you're doing bubble letters, because essentially that's what you're doing. So you will be a bit more meticulous about doing every side of this line to go ahead and capture all of your letters. All right, now, as I do that, again, just using the pencil, applying pressure will transfer that to your canvas. I'm going to go ahead and lift this off so you can see what it's going to look like. At first, it will look like a graphite line. So basically just like a pencil line. And it's a little bit lighter. Then I come back in. Your kit has I know I have one somewhere. Well, your kit has a Sharpie. And I don't know where mine went. Oh, here it is. I knew I had one around here somewhere. Okay, so your kit has a permanent marker, and it looks just like that. So that's what I have gone ahead and done here. So I went ahead and made a nice hard line around all of this. Again, that's just a nice little tip for beginners, because it will allow it to just bleed through the paint. And then that way you can be a little bit sloppy with it. It's just a little bit more forgiving in terms of the beginner's process. So this will all stay intact and you'll still see it. And that way you won't lose all that trace, which gives you a little bit more comfort and security as you go through the process of painting this. Okay, so other things that we will have with our setup. So let me give you a little visual here. Paint kit comes with all these tools here. So we have the mama brush, little buddy brush, and little bit brush, pencil and permanent marker. And then we'll also have a paint kit here that will always come with it. This is great because of course the paints are very long lasting. They're professional grade, heavy bodied acrylic paint. Really good paints. Also you can use this as a ruler, line edge if you need that. Alright, and I will go ahead and grab some things that you obviously don't have in the kit because you'll need to get these at home. This will be your, like a bucket of water or just a glass of water, and then get some paper towels or even a wash rag or rag works just fine. I use old bar mops from around the house. And then of course just a plate that can hold your paint. I just use one of these. I love these little things. I get these at like Dollar Tree. And they're so elegant, and then they hold my paint, and I just get a big collection of paint on there, and it's kind of fun. So yay. Okay, and then anything else that makes you peaceful, you know, I've got some candles nearby, a little plant, and then of course something to drink or eat. You can kind of snack and get something to drink while you continue on with your process. Alright, so we have this all set up. Oh, one more thing I wanted to tell you was I kept mentioning with the transfer, I did forget to mention this. The reason why I only tape up at the top and not here on the sides is because it's very important that I'm able to lift up through that process and check your work to make sure you get all of your line work done. Because the tracing is easy. What potentially becomes very hard is to line it back up again if you somehow forget something crucial. So keep it taped and secured up here at the top. Constantly come back in and check your work, make sure you get every single line done, and then once you know that you're completely done, then you can lift this off completely and then just start with your painting process. Alright, so again I want to say hello to everybody out there. Welcome, welcome. So glad y'all are here. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and get started with our beautiful sky. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my Mama brush. This is Mama. She is a 1/2 inch flat tack-on brush, and I'm going to start with some, I've got some titanium white already on my palette, and so I'm going to go ahead and, you know, I should have a visual of that. Let's see if I can find one. Sure. Okay, here we go. So here's a visual. Here's some titanium white for the paint that we're about to use. And then also, I'm just going to grab a nice big dollop of that, place that over to the side. And then let's go ahead and use some primary cyan blue. Let's do just a nice full dime size amount of that. And then let's go ahead and take some Viridian. There it is. It's kind of a teal color. And again, another little dime size amount of that. Alright, and I'm going to take my Mama brush, and we're going to go ahead and mix all these together. This will give me a really pretty turquoise color. And I can use a lot of white to really lighten this up quite a bit. Let's grab some more. I want this to be very light in certain sections. A nice mix of both, some darkness, some lightness here. And then let's go ahead and do a little touch of water before we go ahead and go in. And we're going to go ahead and take this all the way across our canvas. Just sweep that back and forth. And at the very tip top, I have a little bit of this pure primary cyan blue. I'm going to go ahead and place that into the very top of my canvas. We want that to be the darkest shade right there. Grab some more water. That'll help extend that paint out and thin it out, make it a bit more transparent. take this back and forth. Let's grab a little bit more white with that, push that through. A little bit of water. Thin that out. And some firm pressure and just a nice horizontal stroke, just back and forth. Now let's grab some more of that has a bit more of a turquoise hue to it, and we'll just push that back and forth. And again, a little bit more water. That'll help make that a bit more translucent. As it goes across those letters, we want to be able to see. And you can see how that permanent marker is definitely just bleeding right through. That's lovely. That's a huge help for beginners. All right, let's go ahead and grab a little bit more white. You can notice that I'm not even cleaning off my brush. I'm just continuing on with the same brush, because basically all these paints are just getting mixed all together. Now as I get down into this area here too, I have just a hint of some lavender, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some violet. We're going to do just a tiny little pea-sized amount of that right there. And let's go ahead and lighten that violet up. It's pretty strong in the way it is right now, pretty dark. So I'm going to go ahead and lighten it just a tad with a little bit of white right there. And now we're going to go ahead and kind of push this in to the side and just streak that across the canvas. Isn't that beautiful? Do a little hint of that over here on the other side as well. You can see I can be just a little bit sloppy here as I come over the barn. It's okay, because we'll be coming back in over the top. I don't want to lose those lines, but I don't want to abruptly stop my sky near the barn. I want to have it kind of flow through theoretically to the background of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of an overpaint. Just makes it easier for beginners. And that permanent line will definitely just show right through. And we're going to start to dramatically light up the back of our sky here. So it starts to bring in a lot more white. And just a tiny touch of that turquoise. And so this is a very peaceful process that you can do. Alright, that is looking really beautiful. So we have our sky done now. Let me just show you a little trick. Now I don't have to do this, but I just like to show people too. If you need to go ahead and remove some paint sometimes, you can clean a brush. I'm going round and round and round into the water. Circular strokes, and then it helps release that paint. So I still have a little bit of white nearby, so let's bring this in. Circular strokes, firm pressure that helps release the paint. Let's go ahead and wipe this off on the rag here. But also to remove some paint, let's just grab some water. I'm going to go ahead and place this water down. And this paint's still pretty fresh, so I can apply some water here over the surface. And then I can take a little rag here, or a little piece of the paper towel, and you can actually just lift a lot of that off. Now that's not really that necessary for this, but it is a little nice hint and technique for lifting off paint and making some corrections. Alright, so we've got a really nice start here. Let's go ahead and grab our brush again here. Okay, so now we need to go ahead and work into, let's see, what do I want to do? I want to do the green around here. So, let's get some more Viridian. Just a nice little dime-sized amount of that. And then let's grab some Cadmium Green. Another little dime-sized amount of that. So let's go ahead and use our little buddy brush, little 1/4-inch flat tack-on brush, and let's go ahead and just push into both the Cadmium Green and the Viridian. And we're going to go ahead and sweep this into this little layer of trees. They're basically happening in the background. So we're just getting that solid color down. You know what, there's just a tiny hint of darkness in here too. So you know what, I've got some violet left over, pretty dark. I'm going to go ahead and grab that darker violet, and we're going to work that into it as well. Kind of push that in over the top. A little bit dark back there. And believe it or not, violet is a perfect way to add a little bit of depth and shadow to your greens. So we're going to work this into this whole section. Now I'm holding the brush a little bit more over to the side. That will give me really good coverage over the top. And then if I want to come back in with a little bit more of a highlight, then we'll grab some lighter color. You know, I'm going to go ahead and take some bright yellow green. We'll pull that in too. Again, a little dime size amount there. Go ahead and pull some of that in with that cadmium green, bright yellow green. And then just right over the top here, we're going to go ahead and pull in some of those lighter shades. Start to bring in a little bit of texture here, so I'm just going to very gently hold that brush over to the side. Do a little bit of tap, tap, tap. And let's go back in with that darker Viridian, and then also that violet. Make sure that comes in over the top. And I had a little bit of that overpaint right there, so I came back in with my little bit of water. We're going to help loosen that up a little bit and remove that. And let's continue over to the other side. And just a hint of that bright yellow green peeking through there. Alright, beautiful. Okay, so now we're coming into the field in the foreground, and we definitely need to lighten up quite a bit. So we'll be pulling in some primary yellow. Nice fat nickel size of that. And then also some cadmium yellow. Nice fat nickel of that. And then we still have our greens to work with. So we've got that bright yellow green. Maybe another little dime size amount of that. And I also want to mix up some brown. We'll be working in some brown as well. So let's go ahead and pick up some cadmium orange. A dime size amount of that. And then also some Mars black. Just a little dime size amount of that. Alright, so let's mix up some brown. So the brown would be some of that orange and then our black. So that'll make our brown. Mix those two together. Make sure y'all can see that. Okay, you can. So that orange and black, that makes our brown. That's nice to have. And then we've got some of that white nearby too. So that can make some light brown or more of like a taupe look, more like a tacky. So that's definitely going to come in handy in here. So good to have those on reserve here. Alright, so I'm going to take this light brown that I just mixed up. So again, brown, orange, black. And we put a little bit of white with it. That made that khaki color. Now let's go ahead and grab a little bit of our primary yellow. Warm that up a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and get right next to that edge. You know what, this is going to be a pretty large area, so I think I'm going to switch back to my mama brush. Let's go ahead and put little buddy into the bucket of water. Let's go ahead and pick up our mama brush again. Let's get some more of that primary yellow, that brown that we mixed up, which was the Mars black, cadmium orange, and a little bit of white. And we're going to go ahead and sweep this all into the background. And I'm going to make this a little bit brighter with that primary yellow. I'm going to sweep some more into that. Just take that all the way across. Getting a little bit of peekaboo here with our canvas. You can also add a little touch of water to that. That will help that paint flow right into the porous quality of the canvas. And just take that back and forth. And then as we come through here, it becomes a little bit more green. So I'm going to sweep in just a little tiny touch of the green through here. We get a nice soft blend and transition between those two colors. Let's add a little bit more water to that as well to help kind of make a soft fade between those two. Now let's go back to a lot more of that primary yellow and more of that soft brown and a little bit more of the white. And let's push this back through here, just side to side. And get nice sweeping strokes here. And a lot of white, a little bit of that brown. And let's use a little more of that yellow. Just get some nice coverage, just back and forth, all the way across, firm pressure. A little bit more water to help that flow into the space. Nice transition. Hold that brush over to the side. Alright, so it's looking really good here, and then we still have to do our grass over the top, but I'm going to shift gears here to the barn. So we're going to go back to the barn. Just clean my brush. I need a very light gray over the top. And maybe a hint of that lavender in there as well. So let's go ahead and pick up a nice big dollop of the white. And by the way, I'm using my little buddy brush. Let's do a tiny little touch of that black. But very light gray, so just barely use a part of that black. So super light gray here. And then we're going to go ahead and work this into the top part of the barn. Touch more of the gray just for this outside edge. I'm going to pull in this darker gray for this whole section here. Now I'm going to go back to more of that white. And work that into the middle here. Take the end of the brush and just dip it into the white and come down right here in front. Make a little line of white. Into a little bit more of that darker gray. A little bit of a firm press back and forth. Let's go ahead and get a nice thin line edge. And then we're going to go ahead and do another line there. And I mentioned that we were going to use a little bit of some lavender. I'm going to rinse out my little buddy here and tap that off, and then let's go ahead and do a little bit of that lavender. Just hold the brush a little bit over to the side, come from this angle, and then just do a slight drag across the barn here. And if you want that to be a bit more subtle, then of course let's do a little white here. Grab a little bit more of that white. And let's sweep that back into it. It's just a bit more subtle over the top. You can hold that brush a little more over the side and grab a little bit more white. I'll just kind of use it the same way you would use more of like a spatula to do, or like a palette knife. And it just allows a lot more of that paint to just kind of rest right on the surface. And we're just going to lightly drag that across. Come back into my sky over here on the other side. It's a little bit of that turquoise and white. Pull that out to the other side and softly work that in. Light drag just across there. Alright, we're going to start to work into the color of the barn here. So it is some more of that brown. So the brown is our cadmium orange and a little bit of that Mars black. That will make a dark brown. But I really want to lighten it up again. So I'm going to push that off to the side here and grab a lot of white. Grab a little bit more of just that pure orange into that light brown. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more white. We're going to work into this little section here, and then let's do vertical strokes all the way down, making sure that the brush strokes go in the direction of the wood. So I'm going to go ahead and take it up and down in a vertical stroke. Now as it dries, and I did go ahead and touch in a little bit more of that water to go over the top so that it's a little bit more translucent here, but that little line will start to peek back through again. Now let's take a darker shade here and just barely touch around the edges, and then just do a light pull from that. Kind of pull that into the barn wood there. shadow that comes up underneath, and then a light little pull from there. Meet it in the middle with another light pull from the base here, pulling up. Very nice. And then I'm going to take my little bit brush, grab a little bit of that darkest Mars black, mixed with that brown, maybe a touch of white, slightly up just a little bit for a charcoal look. Do a little spin here into the paint that'll rotate the head of the brush into a nice fine point. And I'm going to go ahead and make that little square, that little window, so we don't lose that. And then a few little striated lines right through the middle there too. Still got that darker shade going, so I'm going to go and do a line right through here. And another line right through here. And then let's go ahead and take some more of that other shade here, and we're going to take it across. And honestly, it's a mix of so much of this that we've been working with, the browns and the warmer tones with the oranges and the khakis. So as we come over here to our plate, we can grab a little bit of everything, kind of play with it. And we're going to take this to the side, work this into that dark shadow while it's still wet, get a nice soft blend between those two. Those two darker lines intact. Help that flow into the side. Let's make this a little bit dark right through there. I'll make a few little pieces of barnwood that come through here a little bit darker than the others. Let's rinse out, bring in some lighter colors here. More of those khakis with the white, maybe a touch of yellow in there as well. And hello again to everybody out there joining me today live. We're so happy you're here. If you have any specific questions about what we're doing, please leave it in the comments, and I'll be sure to get back with you after the class. Orange left. Let's grab some fresh orange. Get the orange there for just a little touch up. Grab a little bit of black right there on the edge. We're going to go ahead and separate this again. Give it a tap, tap, tap. The dark brown. I'm adding some more orange into it, and I'm going to come back in and do a little bit more of a shadow in here. And then a light pull from there. Tap, tap, taps and some horizontal strokes here. We're going to bring in some lighter colors right over the top here. Just a little bit of that white just right over the top of this section. And we're going to come in with our butter bit brush and do a light gray. vertical look. Let's reinforce those little doors. Came back in with a little bit of Viridian to come next to the barn. Fill this in a little bit. We had a little bit of overpaint from earlier, so I'm just kind of touching that up. And a little bit brush again, and our very, very light white with our turquoise that we made earlier. We've got a lot of white to that. We're going to come back in and kind of help reinforce this side of the barn. So we had a little bit of overpaint there as well. Let's pull this out with a little bit of water. A little bit more of that color that we just mixed up, which is our light turquoise, and a little bit of that white. Softly blend that back out. Pull off the excess water. Alright, so now we've got a lot of texture that we need to work into the grassy area here. So I'll be working a lot with these two brushes here, my little buddy and my little bit. And I need to go ahead and let's make sure we get some warmer tones out. So I've got a lot of this still out, but I'll do a little bit more. This is Cadmium Yellow. And some primary yellow. I want to make sure we got plenty of brown to dip into, so here's some Cadmium Orange. And we'll do a touch more of the Mars Black. That will make more brown, so let's go ahead and get a nice mix here on the brown. So we're going to mix that Cadmium Orange with our Mars Black. There's a lot there. And then we can add some white to that, and that'll make a lighter brown. So we'll start with some of that shadow first. I'll pull up here from the base and start to make what looks like that little bit of grass that comes in. And as I work that in, I'll take that same brush. I won't clean it off. I'm going to dip into a little bit of the primary yellow. Put that in, and also that cadmium yellow. Warm it up a little bit. So I'm basically going back and forth between my brown that I mixed up with the cadmium orange and Mars Black, and then I'm also pushing into the mix some of that cadmium yellow and that primary yellow, and just alternating between those two. Getting some really nice texture in here. I even did a little bit of orange right there. That was kind of fun. Keep those light highlights happening. Here at the base. And then more of that cadmium yellow, and then more primary yellow. Do a little wipe here, get that excess dark color off, maybe even rinse out here. And let's go back into our lighter tones, our cadmium yellow and our primary yellow. Let's keep it quite a bit lighter and brighter as we work our way up to the top. taking my same little bubby brush, got a little bit of that brown and also that bright yellow green, and I'm going to come right here next to the barn, kind of softly come in with a few little thick strokes of paint just right over the top, kind of thick with my layering there. Grab a little bit of yellow too. Light drags across the surface. Just a little bit of a white. I want this to brighten up quite a bit. We'll bring in more yellow. Give a nice little highlight across the top there. Alright, so we have some beautiful grass now, and a lovely barn. And I think I'm going to come back in over the roof and just make it more of a subtle gray. I did want a hint of the lavender, but not so much. A little bit more of that gray. Alright, so we've got a beautiful barn here with some green happening in the background, a lovely grassy field here in front, and now we're going to work on our lettering. So we can see that it's still bleeding through the paint, which is wonderful. We definitely need that. And there's a couple different things you can do here. So if this is all dry, which of course ours should be, what I recommend to beginners is they go ahead and use the permanent marker that comes with the kit, and then you can actually just go right over the top. Let's make sure I don't have any paint here. And this makes it the very easiest, because as long as the paint is dry, you're going to be in good shape and you can use this to go over the top. Word of caution though is that if the paint is wet, it will just kill your permanent marker immediately and it will render it useless. So make sure you only use this on dry paint, dry surfaces. You can also just paint it on. So we're going to go ahead and use our little bit brush, a little bit of water, And let's grab some fresh Mars Black over here. Little pea size amount there. Twirl this into the paint. You can actually kind of hold your hand steady a little bit too, or I like to brace the weight of my hand on my pinky. And I try to make sure that I keep all the negative space in between the letters in place, with plenty of negative space showing through, so you don't close off those loops. So make sure you go outside of every loop that you have. It's also helpful to do a twirl into the paint. That will rotate the head of the brush into a nice fine point. And I'm going to go over this G too a little bit, just so it looks a little bit more painterly. And water is also usually definitely a friend here. You want to twirl it out, not to have too much excess, because you don't want a water drop with too much water, but it definitely helps thin the paint and makes it a little bit easier to control for something this precise. So we've got good things are coming. Wonderful. That's good news. All right, now let's go ahead and sign our masterpiece. So I'm going to go ahead and take the same brush a little bit and do a little twirl into that paint. And we're going to sign it right down here. Ta-da! There it is. Beautiful. Here's our beautiful barn that says good things are coming. So exciting. Looking forward to that. All right. So some good news about this painting is it is here for you forever as a painting kit. You can always do it at home online. So this class will stay online for you, and we will have it on Facebook and YouTube. And then also, if you are craving a little bit of studio time to be with others, we are still having classes, and we'll have one again this Saturday. And it'll be at 6 o'clock at our Tipsy Artist Paint Palace. And you can pre-register for that class online, and we'll be painting it there with instructions. So that's awesome. And again, that's at tipsyartist.com, so you can find that there. So, yay! Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been super fun. And we look forward to seeing y'all soon or painting with y'all online. But y'all have a beautiful day, and we will see you soon. Toodles!